Okay, Hagatha, the camera's up and running. Was there something you wanted to say this morning? Hagatha, now is not the time to be shy. Thing's right there holding your shoulder. You can do it. Hagatha, use your words. What did you want to say? Oh my goodness, Hagatha. I guess I'll have to say it for you. Happy birthday, Cheryl! Here we go again. Morning, everyone. My name is Audrey. I am stitchywitch42 here on FlossTube and over on Instagram. And today is the 2nd of November, 2024. And if you didn't see Hagatha, she didn't say anything, but if you didn't see her, happy birthday, Cheryl. Thing was there too. He was trying to be helpful, but Hagatha is shy. She doesn't talk much. And when she does, you can't shut her up. So I've got a bunch of stuff to share, as always. And I managed to make it up to Acorns and Threads a total of 7 times this month, or last month, because it's November now, not October. Has the sads. That means Halloween's over. We had trick-or-treaters, not nearly enough. It's never enough. But there was one point in the evening, our door has a 3/4 size window on it with prism glass and pebble glass. And at one point in the evening, I looked over and there was this little face pressed against the window. It was the best. So we went out and wished them happy Halloween. And this little guy's sister, who was only a couple years older, I love her. She goes, "I love your decorations. Happy Halloween. I love your decorations so much." So while I didn't have nearly as many children as I would like to have had, I got the best ones. And unfortunately, there's still candy left over. I'm going to leave that for Mark. Anyway, talking about Acorns and Threads in October, I managed to make it up there a total of 7 times, which is really rare for me to do. In fact, I think this may be the first time ever. But I was up there on the 26th because they had an open house. Now, I admit I was not at the open house very long because, have I told you I'm falling apart from the waist down? Well, I am. And we're not going to get into that, but I was really hurting that day. And because they had the annex all set up for the open house, while they had chairs in there, they were stacked up, and I didn't want to bother anybody to get me one because I needed to sit. We're going to ignore that part of it, okay? We're pushing that away. So they had an open house. They had the annex all set up. Krista West, Alvea folk embroidery. She's going to be one of the designers for Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit next year. And she was there to do a book signing. There were, hold on a moment, I have to go get them. When you think you have everything all ready for a video, you always find out that you're missing something. They had tables set up that had fabric on them. They had an area set up with Krista's books. They had a table set up with some pins, counting pins that had been made by Margaret. She has started to do this and she's got them labeled as Zoe's Decorative Pins. Now, a while back, she gifted this one to me, a pumpkin head. Yes, yes. And when I was there, I had to pick up a couple more. I got a little candy corn. And I got a little skull pin. Now the thing I like about this one, She had several of them there where they're different colors inside. They had blue eyes and green eyes and pink eyes. And this one looks like neon green eyes. So cute. But I needed them because I have an FFO. And I'll share it. I'll share it later. But I also picked up some patterns while I was there. One of them is Annie B's Folk Art. It is Pumpkin Patch. And the other one is from Primrose Cottages. It's Salem Sisters Stitchery. I love this one. I have to make that one. Ooh. They also have a Salem Sisters Apothecary. I may need that one too. And the third pattern that I got is Blackbird Designs Tricks or Treats. It's a booklet. Has 7 designs in there, and I decided that that was the one that I wanted to start on soonish. It was going to be my Halloween start. But it wasn't Halloween yet. It was only the 26th of the month. So like I said, I wasn't there very long. I did not buy one of her books because I'm not a collector of books. That kind of books. I have books. But yeah, we're not going to go there. So I didn't stay very long because I was hurting. But then, if you watched the opening of my video, you saw that I put a little clip together with some of the happenings that happened on Witch Wednesday. If you are a member of Acorns and Threads Friends Facebook group, if you are on Acorns and Threads website and get their emails, you know that they have several stitch days throughout the month. There is first and third Thursdays. There is second and last Wednesday. That one confused me for a while. And then I realized it's because some months have 5 Wednesdays and not just 4. So it's second and last Wednesday. And when I realized that the last Wednesday in October was the day before Halloween, I kind of went on to the Facebook group and renamed it to Witch Wednesday. Because, yeah. So, one of the ladies who comes up to Acorns and Threads on a regular basis, Laura, she really liked the idea and said that she would bring some treats. And I said, well, I was planning on bringing treats too. She put on quite the spread. If you look at that video, there is a table full of goodies. She made brownie skeletons and cauldron cookies and spider cookies, and there was so much, so much. But the fun thing about it is so many people had something on to celebrate the holiday. Some people just wore fascinators, some wore t-shirts or sweatshirts, some had jewelry on, some had outfits on. One gentleman came in regular clothes, and after he took care of some paperwork that he said he had to do, he went and disappeared into the restroom and came out as a skeleton. It was a blast. It was fun. Everybody was getting a sugar high. I know I did. And we all had fun sitting and stitching and shopping. And one of the things that I bought on Witch Wednesday is something that I want to talk about. It's this. It's the Acorns and Threads coupon book. This costs $12. I don't know how many Janine prints up each year, but this pays for itself so quickly. And I'm not sponsored by Acorns. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I sit here and babble for myself. But in here are 12 coupons. The minimum you get off of any coupon is 20%. 1 month it could be the whole purchase, 1 month it could be fabrics, 1 month it could be threads. And then there's 3 months in here where you have a mystery discount that could be anywhere from 20 to 40% off, and you pay $12 for this book. It pays for itself so quickly. They've started putting, a few years ago, they started putting a page in there that they would fill out and they would keep so that they would have your information on file, your name, and that you purchased the book. They're really good at asking if you want to use the coupon, if you don't bring it up yourself, and you don't have to have it with you. So if you're shopping and you left it at home, tell them, they look and see you purchased it, you get the discount. If you purchased it and you call them on the phone to make a purchase, you can use your discount. I think you can use the discount through the website. Call Acorns and Threads. Purchase a book. It's a good thing. That sound there was the mic drop. Okay. So, at Witch Wednesday, I decided that I was going to start a new project. I take some fabric up, and this was the one that I wanted to do. It's in Tricks or Treats. It is called Tricks or Treat, and I got it started. And I actually got quite a bit done on it while I was up there. Most of the border, anyway. It wasn't until the next day that I messed up. The next day was Halloween, and obviously I should not try to cross-stitch while I'm waiting for children to show up at my house and little goblin faces to peek through the door. It was the cutest thing ever. I'm telling you, it was the cutest thing ever. Because everything I stitched Halloween night, I unpicked the next morning. But I made some progress. I fixed my mistake and restitched it. And this is where I am at on Tricks or Treat. Now, I did not use all of the called for colors. Where's my book at? In here, when I was looking at the symbols, it calls for both Weeks Dye Works mascara and Weeks Dye Work kohl. Well, I thought in place of mascara, I could use 310 black. And I had Weeks Dye Work kohl, so I thought, I'll use those two. When I started stitching with the kohl, with my kohl, it was so dark it was blending with the black. So what I did instead was I decided that I was going to swap that color out. And I'm sitting in my chair over here, and I was thinking to myself, what color would work in place of it? And I thought, well, maybe $37.99 would be good. And I looked in my box that I have sitting on my table next to my chair to see if I had any in my Alphonse Mucha box, if I had any $37.99, and I didn't. So I thought, well, what else can I use in here? And I found $8.44. And I figured if I used one strand of kohl, one strand of $8.44, blend them together, would they work? And I don't know how well you're going to be able to pick this up on the screen. I'm going to get up close and personal and hold it there for a moment. But you can see that the body of the bird and the leg are the blend of $8.44 and kohl, and they don't blend in with the black on the hat. The whole front of this body here and the leg were what I had to unpick because those little goblins that came on Halloween night apparently distracted me enough to make me miscount. Yeah. So here's my color palette that I'm using for it. Lovely colors there. But I wanted to talk about floss drops for a few minutes because up at Witch Wednesday, Hagatha was sitting on a table over by the door and she had a box of my floss drops that I'd had made up for Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit. I wanted to have something to pass out to everybody in the room and go to Vistaprints and have floss drops made. They're really inexpensive if you do it in bulk. And those were the cards that I had made. I had to get thing in the picture. But Anna was making a comment. The thing that she doesn't like about floss drops is because if you put the information on the back, once you're done with that color, you can't use the card again. Yes, you can. Couple of simple things. I mean, I have my card for 310 black. I use 310 all the time. I'm going to just refill it over and over again. The other thing you could do is you could put a sticker over the color and put another color on there. On some of my cards, when we did the great floss drop exchange a few years ago, I have a ton of those upstairs. On some of my cards, I just stapled the original tag to it. And if I wanted to, I could take that off and put a different tag on there. So don't think you're limited to just having one color on a floss drop. Think outside the box. Alrighty. So I started that on Witch Wednesday, which I seriously hope will become a thing up at Acorns and Threads. We'll see if Laura and I can get it to work next year. But while I was up there, one of the ladies there came over to talk to Anna. She had just finished this stunning piece, and I don't have a picture of it. I didn't think to take a picture of it at the time, and I don't know if Anna posted it on her video or not. But she had done witchy stitchy, I think she said it was, on this gorgeous orange Ada that she had dyed herself. And she had used black and 2 shades of blue on there, and it was stunning. Just stunning. And then she came over later to get some advice because she had a piece that she wanted to start. And she had some fabric options, and because it was a wood witch that she was going to be stitching, I kind of pushed Anna out of the way because obviously she needed the advice of a witch to figure out what color to put it on. And yes, she did choose the color I chose. I gave a good explanation as to why. Anyway, this pattern Wood Witch that she was going to start stitching is from a website called ravencoven.com. I took a picture of the pattern. I took a picture of the back of the pattern so that I would have the website so that I could look at it later. But there were 2 ladies that were sitting to the right of me. One of them was Kimberly. She is Daisy Joe Designs. She's the one who designed the Don't Feed the Trolls for me that I did a couple of years ago. I still need to fully finish it. And with her was her sister Lori. So Lori pulls up the website and she goes, "Oh, this one looks pretty." And she shows it to Kim, who shows it to me. And she takes her phone back. "Oh, this one is pretty." And she shows it to Kim, who shows it to me. After about the 7th time, I finally caved and I went to the website, and I think I have like 9 or 10 patterns in my shopping cart. I just haven't pushed the button yet. ravencoven.com. It'll be down below. They have zombie animals. Yeah. And there's a house that I think I want to stitch. Yeah. So, other projects that I've been working on. because, you know, it's all because of Floss Tube that I work on more projects than one at a time. I used to be monogamous. It got boring sometimes, but I used to get, well, I can't say that this year. I've gotten things done. I have been stitching on Coffee House Witches by Annabelle's. This is where I'm at with it. I just have to finish the little banner down here, which will spell out elixirs, and there's 2 little curlicues underneath it, and it'll be completely done. I used the Etoile, DMC Etoile Floss $37.99 for the cauldron, and I had asked people on the pattern, and I have my pattern turned inside out in the bag. It had the opening at the top of the cauldron empty, but because I changed the color of it, it looked strange to me that it was empty. And I was trying to figure out what color to put in there, and a lot of people suggested greens or purples, which would have added a third color. I did add a third color, but it's Banana Pudding from Weeks Dye Works, because it looks, you know how you get that swirl of color in your coffee when you first pour your creamer in it? Well, Witch's Brew Coffee House, I needed a swirl of creamer in my cauldron. What can I say? Some of the little goblins that came up to the house on Halloween tried to march their way into the house. Their parents were trying to pull them back. One of the last ones was a cute little girl, dressed up as a princess. It's okay, they start there, they end up like me. And she was just so excited and kept trying to sneak into the house. And I told her, I said, honey, you come back every year. I will always have candy for you. Bribe those kids to come to my house. I was so hoping that with the sidewalk I would have more children, but it rained all day and it was cold, and I get it. I need the children. They keep me youthful. Okay. I have some FFOs. I was stitching on my last 3 hashtag 24 bats in 2024, and I got the stitching done on all of them. I have fully stitched 24 bat projects in 2024. To all of the people out there who are still sending me photos of more bat patterns, I still have this bag full of bat patterns. I don't need any more, thank you very much. I'm just saying, I don't need any more. But I went upstairs and I worked on getting these last 3 items fully finished, and one of them is the drawn thread, little bits of Halloween, and I did this one simply as a flat mount. I just put paper on the back of it. I would like to find a small window shutter to put this on. If not, I'm sure Mark has some dried fence boards out in the shop that I could use, but I love this one. When I was putting it together and I was getting ready to add the back onto it, I realized that one of my spiders down here lost its button body, and oh well, it still looks good. So this means I had 22 fully finished hashtag 24 bats in 2024. So since that one was a flat mount and I knew my next one was also going to be a flat mount, I went ahead and I got it finished. This is from Sue Hillis, Dark Shadows. This is Trick or Treat. This is the one that I finished on my husband's birthday when we were at Wolf Creek Tavern. And again, it's just a flat mount. But I have these little swivel clip hooks that I could put on there if I wanted to make this an ornament, or I could just use this to tuck in amongst the others. It would be fine. My little tree I have here, this is way too big for it. But that's my 23rd fully finished hashtag 24 bats in 2024. And then there was the last one. And the last one caused me some issues, but I got it done. And I am so tickled with how this one turned out. So my last stitched piece, my last finished piece for hashtag 24 bats in 2024 was Hands-On Design Put on the Hat. I wanted to finish mine as a drum. And if you look at the pattern, on one end of the pattern you have part of a broomstick, and on the other end you have another part of the broomstick, and you have to make them meet up. I tried using my sewing machine to stitch it together. The first time wasn't bad, but it wasn't good enough. So I took it apart and tried it again, and the second one was way worse. So I took it apart and then I thought to myself, how do I do this? And I realized I've already had experience doing this before. Because if you remember, a few months ago I had to add fabric to the bottom of my Alphonse Mucha. And since I was stitching on Ada, I just lined up the fabric that I was adding and I stitched that on with a stitch going through each hole to make sure that the two layers would line up and I could stitch through them. I stitched this on Ada. So I sat down and I did the same thing. And this is my finish on Put on the Hat. So there's the back. There's the back and the seam. I hand stitched that together so that the broomstick lined up the way that it was supposed to. And then I decided to try something different on the top. When I purchased it, it came with a piece of velveteen, the purple velveteen on the top. And the way that I have finished drums before, I've used a piece of cardboard in the top with some batting on top of it, which means that you really don't have a lot of space to put your pins in. I wanted to be able to put pins in the top of this, and I was trying to think how to do that. And others may already know this trick. I don't know because I'm not a finisher. But when I put that piece of mat board to use it as like an ornament finish, where you stitch, you do the running stitch around it and you pull it together, and then you do the crisscross behind it to hold it in place. I didn't do the crisscross behind it because after I got it all stitched on, what I did is I took this and I turned it inside out and I just popped that piece out so there is no cardboard in the top here, and I can put a pin in anywhere I want it. I don't know if anybody else has ever done that, but it's the way I'm finishing drums from now on. I went ahead and finished the bottom of it with some of the purple fabric that Amy had sent to me because bats. So I am completely done with hashtag 24 bats in 2024. They have all been stitched. They have all been fully finished. I am just so tickled that that is done. So tickled that that is done. So give me a moment to clean up here. I'm going to come back. I'm going to show you where I'm at with my Alphonse Mucha and talk about some other stuff. Okay, I've got my Alphonse Mucha up on the screen and I have been working on it. I try to spend at least an hour in the morning working on it, and as you can see, I've got the lower left-hand corner completely filled in and I'm working across the page. What I do is I go up to the highest and closest to the left side empty space, grab that color and stitch as much of that color as I can using one strand of floss or until I run out of stitches. But she is coming along quite nicely. She is going to be my focus for the rest of the year, and I am really, really hoping to have her done before the end of the year. So one of the things that I took with me up to Acorns and Threads was a box full of the floss drops that I had made to give out at the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit. I bought 2 of these boxes full. I think there's 250 in a box. And I still have that many left. Just over half of the box left. I don't need this many floss drops. Like I said, I have another box the same size as this upstairs with leftover floss drops from when we did the Great Floss Drop Exchange. So what I was thinking of doing was, if you're interested in getting some of my floss drops, send me a self-addressed stamped envelope and I will put 3 of them in and mail it back to you. To do that, all you have to do is go to my email, which is in the drop-down box. Send me an email, ask me for my address. Make sure that you use floss drop as the subject line so I know that's what it's for. And if you do that, I will send you my address, and then you can send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, obviously inside of another one, and I will return it with 3 floss drops in there, that way, until I run out of these. If not, I'll just continue to give them out as I do. So, the only other thing that I have been working on, and I know there are people out there that love to see it, is my Afghan. And I moved the Q-snap. So give me a minute to undo everything. I will tell you, it is a whole process to get this thing worked into the Q-snap, because I roll it at the top and I use the magnetic silicone ties to hold it down here, and then I roll it sideways and I roll it sideways. It's a battle. And I'm only in the 3rd row down. I'm wondering how I'm going to do that when I get closer to the bottom. Oh well, in 5 or 6 years when I get there. I started this project with Julie, Stitching at the Cabin, and her daughter Alyssa for the leap year start in 2020, which meant that it was supposed to be done by leap year this year. Well, it isn't, but then neither is theirs, so. But what I've been working on mostly recently is I got the 3 bats there done. So another bat project, yeah. But I can't count this one because it's not going to be finished in 2024. Oh my God, I wouldn't be able to sleep. But I worked on the 3 bats and the boo, and then I came up and I've got to fill in those last 2 pendants, and then I will have all the pendants done and it'll say Halloween. And yeah, those are the things that I'm working on. My focus is to get my lady done this year, because It's been 4 years. She's my oldest project. This is my second oldest project. I have about a half a dozen projects upstairs that need to be fully finished. Now that I'm done with that silly hashtag of mine, maybe I can get some of those accomplished. And come January of 2025, I will do a wrap-up of hashtag 24 Bats in 2024. I need to contact the ladies who have participated with me and ask their permission to share some of their photos, which I can harvest from Instagram. Yes, I harvest photos. I would like to share their work if they will let me, and if they say no, then I won't. I understand that. But in January, I want to do a wrap-up of that hashtag and announce who the winner is. Right now, I know 2 of them have completed 24 bats. One of them is getting really, really close, and I don't know where the others are at, so I have to do some checking on that. Anyway, I think that I have shared everything that I wanted to, needed to. If you want some floss drops, follow the instructions I gave you and I will gladly send them out until I am out of them. Thing and I say, live long and stitch on, my friends. Bye-bye.